Matt, once again, train stations are giving us the backdrop to war and a refugee crisis in Europe. We're at a train station very close to the Ukraine-Polish border, and as you can see, it is now becoming a massive refugee shelter. We spent the day very close to here talking to people, and actually just in the last hour or so, a train came in here from Ukraine, and I was talking to people who got off that train. They told me the train was delayed by hours because Ukrainian armed forces, the army, went through the train on the Ukrainian side, telling people of fighting age, telling men of fighting age to leave the train. So I would really encourage our viewers to take in this scene behind me, because our grandchildren and their children after them will probably be learning about this in school. This is just the beginning. The Medyka border crossing, one of 9 main transit points from Ukraine into Poland. In other words, one of the ways out. Thousands of Ukrainians are queuing to get in from the other side. They do need help, but they do not want your pity.
Where are you from?
Where am I from?
Yes.
I'm living in the United Kingdom.
United Kingdom. You have to act, guys. You have to act not just by asking us what's up. And your families need to see that, what's going on here, and we need help. Ukrainians need help. And those people need help, sorry.
On the Ukrainian side, a traffic queue over 20 miles long. Some abandoned their cars, others walked for days. Thousands of Europeans fleeing war. People like Nadia. Like, what kind of life did you have the day before yesterday?
It was normal life, of like a good family, everybody like at school, everybody's working and everything was good.
The foreign minister of Russia has said this is all to do with liberating Ukrainians. Do you feel liberated?
Sorry, but it's they are just aggressors and then just always want Ukraine and...
Family by family, with every click of the turnstiles closer to surviving. Mainly women and children, men of the right age, drafted to fight. Reports some were taken out of the queue. Make absolutely no mistake about it, what you're seeing here today is the beginning of a refugee crisis. Not a crisis of refugees, a crisis for refugees. Europe's last refugee crisis became monolithic, almost anonymous at times. So in the first few days of this one, individual introductions are in order. What's your name?
Natalia.
And what's your name?
Veronica.
Veronica.
Володя.
Good. And what's your name?
Скажи, як тебе звати? Матуся. Матуся.
Matusha.
And not just introductions. For people who went ahead, reunions too.
Have your family just come across the border now?
Yeah, just waiting them for 30 hours here. Yes.
Wow.
And they're traveling more than 30 hours, yes? They started yesterday at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you're the best one.
In the neighbouring town of Przemyśl, others arrived into Poland by train. The station now doubling up as a refugee shelter. So in the local station here, we're seeing this massive mobilization of Polish civic society. We've seen the army giving out food. We've seen the Polish Red Cross are here, and they've set out these camp beds here in one of the departure lounges. But this is really interesting. There's a Telegram channel here that is organizing transport for people from the border into Poland leaving Ukraine. About 4 hours ago, there was 12,000 members of that Telegram group. In the last 4 hours, that's got up to 24,000 Polish people who are trying to help. Back at the border crossing, it is not just one-way traffic. We met young men going back into Ukraine to fight. People like 28-year-old Dennis.
Якщо ні, то я захищаю, я не нападаю.
They encroach on our freedom. We're not the aggressors. I don't see the point in saying I'm going to war. I'm just going home. But if I am home and intruders are there, I will fight.
Putin justified all this by weaponizing twisted history. by creating false narratives. But these are the real names and faces of people supplanted by war in Europe. Put their stories, told matter-of-factly, in your history books.
Warwick O'Brien there. Well, the refugee crisis is affecting every country on Ukraine's border. Earlier, I spoke to an MP from Moldova, Dumitru Alaiba, and I began by asking him how they were preparing to deal with the number of Ukrainians crossing the border into his country.
What we are seeing here on the ground is, pretty much refugees already coming in. So by now, in the last 24 hours or so, we had around 20,000 people crossing the border. Most of them staying in Moldova. So far, they try to be more or less independent. So in the meantime, we're prepared to to host more refugees if they come. And right now at the borders, the queues are quite long already. Last night the queue was about 20 kilometers long at just one border crossing. Now it's a bit shorter, but yeah, the fact is that people keep coming, keep looking for a safe place, and we are ready to welcome them and to help them out.
I mean, President Zelensky has made it quite clear that he feels abandoned by the West, talking about some of the most powerful world forces standing by and watching. Is that your view too, that the EU, that Britain, the US need to do more?
I think the entire democratic world must do everything they can to stop this bloodshed and to stop this aggression. Yes, this is definitely my opinion.
But are sanctions enough? I mean, the EU have talked today about unprecedented package of bold sanctions, yet President Zelensky, the Ukrainians, seem to feel that it's not enough.
The sanctions, of course, they tend to have an effect in time. So just the sanctions won't stop the bloodshed immediately. This is what I will agree 100%. But it is a sign, first of all, of solidarity. It's a sign of support. And as I said, everybody should do whatever they can to stop this war.
I mean, it's not a NATO country. The UK, the US have made it quite clear up until now that there will be none of their troops on the ground. As a country that, as you say, where people are beginning to be frightened, in your own country, what would be your direct message to the world?
My direct message to the world is stop this war now. No one needs a war in Europe in the 21st century. And we all know history, and we all know how other wars across the continent started and how untackled in time they created a lot of damage and a lot of tragedy across the continent.
Dumitru Alaiba, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you so much.